Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon for those of us joining from the East Side. Thank you for joining the webinar. We are going to be discussing how to navigate from an internationally trained pharmacist to a Canadian pharmacist. And we have a rich lineup of panelists today who will be talking about understanding the licensing process, how to find and be a part of study groups and to get resources. And also we'll be looking at how to get financial support. We'll also have an opportunity to hear a success story from someone who has navigated the pathway just like you. The session is being recorded so that people who are unable to join or who want to access the webinar later can do so. I have the pleasure of introducing our panelists. So we have Miro, who is an award-winning career coach with over a decade of experience. He supports a lot of internationally educated professionals, including pharmacists, to thrive in Canada. Rachel is a seasoned career coach with over 15 years of experience, right? And she also specializes in supporting internationally educated pharmacists through the licensing process. And she is going to have the opportunity to talk to us today about the pathways. We have Tammy, who is a British Columbian licensed pharmacist and an alumna of both the Direction for Immigrants and Windmill. So she's going to be sharing her experiences. And Lydia here is an invaluable resource when it comes to talking about funding options for career development. So she's going to also talk to us about the financial options available. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Rachel to talk to us now about the pathways and strategies for success in the pharmacy industry in Canada. Over to you, Rachel.
Thank you, Thomas. Thanks for that, the introduction of everyone. Um, Welcome to our presentation on how to successfully navigate your journey as an internationally trained pharmacist to a Canadian pharmacist. So let me just start sharing my screen here. Let's get started. First of all, it's really important to understand the pharmacy industry in Canada. So let's have a look at where pharmacists work. So I've put together a list. This is taken from the alicealberta.ca website. This is a list of where pharmacists could work in Canada. So of course they can work in pharmacies, retail stores with pharmacy departments. An example of that would be places like Walmart. Walmart typically has a pharmacy department, or even in your grocery stores, like Safeway has a pharmacy department. Pharmacists can also work in hospitals. There are such thing as inpatient hospital pharmacists and outpatient hospital pharmacists. Now, I'm not familiar with the other hospitals in provinces, but I know in Alberta, the Alberta Health Services, we do have the outpatient pharmacies located inside each hospital, and then they have the inpatient pharmacists working within the different departments, whether it be in pediatrics department or in emergency or ICU department. And then, of course, all these different other sectors in industries that require pharmacists, including the armed forces and post-secondary institutions, people who don't necessarily want to be patient-facing pharmacists, but they're more, their passion is more in education. So yes, they can also work in post-secondary. So today I'd like to focus more on working in the community pharmacy or in the hospital pharmacy. So the three roles that you can find in a pharmacy is the pharmacists, the pharmacy technician, and of course, the important role of a pharmacy assistant. In Canada, pharmacists is a regulated occupation. It's about 4 to 6 years of post-secondary education. and it has to be from a pharmacy program approved by CCAPP. That is short for Canadian Council for Accreditation of Pharmacy Programs. Pharmacy technicians, they are regulated occupation as well, and it's a 2-year diploma program that also needs to be approved by CCAPP. Pharmacy assistants is not a regulated profession, and requirement is a high school diploma. And this is where I find where newcomers can start getting experience in a pharmacy in Canada is finding employment as a pharmacy assistant. You do qualify for this in most provinces. I know for sure in Alberta they do qualify in most provinces because again it's not regulated, and requirement is a high school diploma. Today um, we're going to focus today on the pharmacists. Oh, there we go. So, what is the role of a pharmacist? Pharmacists are healthcare professionals dedicated to promoting the health and well-being of individuals and communities. Canadian pharmacists are the drug experts and work collaboratively with physicians and other healthcare professionals. Additionally, pharmacists manage the pharmacy, oversee dispensing, review prescriptions, perform medication reconciliation and medication reviews. They develop care plans and monitor patients. So let's dive a little deeper into what the required skills are as a Canadian pharmacist. A pharmacist in Canada must be able to assess a prescription for accuracy and appropriateness. A pharmacist must be able to assess patients with minor ailments and be able to recommend non-pharmacological or over-the-counter medication. A pharmacist must be able to identify any drug-drug, drug-disease, or drug-food interactions and provide recommendations for treatment. A pharmacist must be able to counsel on any medication available on the Canadian market. A pharmacist must be able to identify a drug therapy problem, define the effect on the patient, and provide recommendations for therapy. A pharmacist must be able to clearly and concisely communicate with empathy, and a pharmacist must use their clinical reasoning skills to effectively address an ethical or management dilemma. So, now that you've decided that, okay, this is something I want to do, I miss being a pharmacist, this is what I did for many years, this was my career goal back home, I want to do this here in Canada. So, how do you get there? So, there's a lot of information out there available. But what I'm going to share here with you are directly from the organizations that are responsible to make sure that we have quality pharmacists practicing in Canada. So what you see here is a graphic that's taken from the Canadian Pharmacists Association. So there's many steps here that they talk about that you need to do. um, it can be a little confusing. Some of you might even have seen this before, um, but I'm going to kind of make it a little bit easier for you to understand. Um, and at the end of this presentation, you're welcome to jump in and ask any questions. If you need me to go back to this slide, I can do that too. So let's just have a little look here. Step one is to go to the Pharmacist Gateway Canada registration. Yes, this is the very first step that you have to do. So this is run by NAPRA, the Pharmacist Gateway Canada. They're sort of like the welcome wagon, and this is for anyone who wants to be a pharmacist, whether you're an international pharmacy grad or Canadian grad, everyone has to register with Gateway Canada. And then step two is to have your documents evaluated, and um, and there's specific instructions for IPGs, International Pharmacy Grads. For international pharmacy grads, there's the step to demonstrate your language proficiency. Now, this is why I wanted to talk about this and showing you this graph, is because you don't necessarily show your language proficiency at this time. Like, you don't do it immediately after your document evaluation. That's not required until you register with your provincial regulatory authority. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but I felt that this is very important to show you, because um, many of you, your for IPGs, language English is may not be your English may not be your first language, um, and so you will be required to show your language proficiency level. Um, and for some people, it might require to take some English classes first. So this is my recommendation: is if you're not confident, or your English language level is not at the level where you're allowed to register with your provincial authority, then I highly advise that start improving on English skills right now, even while you're still trying to complete your education evaluation. Now would be the right time to start improving on language. And I also would like to stress, it's not just about language, it's also about communication, because um, communication is going to be needed in one of your exams with PEBC. So this is the part that I wanted to stress, is you don't necessarily have to provide your language proficiency in the early phase, but they tell you about it here because it's something that a lot of people may have to start working on early in the start of your journey. Okay, and then I'll tell you a little bit further more on um, when you would provide that language proficiency. Okay, so um, in a nutshell, I've created a little bit of an easier way to understand what the steps are. So this is similar to the previous slide, but I kind of made it a little easier to understand. So in general, the bigger picture is that the first step that you do is enroll as a candidate with the NAPRA Pharmacist Gateway, with the exception of Quebec residents. So if you're living in Quebec, and I don't think in our poll we had anyone from Quebec, then you would follow a different process, and you can find that information in the PEBC website. After you register with NAPRA, and registering also means paying for the registration fees, then you'll receive a NAPRA ID number. When you receive the NAPRA ID number, then you hop onto the Pharmacy Examining Board of Canada website. That's PEBC for short. When you jump into the PEBC website, then you would register with them, and they will ask you for your NAPRA ID number. So that's why it's important that you register with NAPRA first. Once you're registered with PEBC, then you follow the steps to complete your document evaluation, and then write your evaluating exam and the 2 qualifying exams. So those are, and then I'll get into a little bit further about the different steps that you have to complete with PEBC. In general, once you're finished with your PEBC exams, then you can register with your provincial regulatory authority. In Canada, if you're not aware of it yet, in Canada, we have provinces and territories. Every province and territory has their own pharmacy college association. In Canada, we basically have 2 different jurisprudence. One is the national or federal jurisprudence, and then the other one is your provincial or territory jurisprudence. Um, and maybe our other guest speaker, Temi, could speak a little bit more about that if you have any questions. Remember, I'm not a pharmacist. I'm a career coach. So when you register with your provincial regulatory authority, this is when you will be asked to provide your language proficiency. Every PRA has their own language requirement. In Alberta, I believe the requirement is 6.5 in academic IELTS. Just to give you an idea, so academic IELTS, they do require at least 6.5, but it depends on where the 0.5 lies, whether it's in your listening, speaking, reading, or writing. So I recommend to aim for 7.0 just to make sure that you can really reach and pass that 6.5 level. So the language proficiency that you can use according to NAPRA, and I believe most provinces are going to be using this guideline as well, is you can use either academic IELTS or the new one, which is, oh, it's not in my notes. It's the Occupational English Language Training, OET. And I can provide the information at the end of my slide here. So they no longer accept TOEFL. They only accept OET or IELTS. Depending again on your province, you may be required to complete a bridging program. And then of course, complete your internship, your structured practical training or internship, SPT. Okay. So just diving a little deeper into PEBC's requirements. The first requirement is after you've registered with PEBC is to complete your document evaluation. So it's really important that after you register with NAPRA and you have a NAPRA ID, that you register with PEBC and follow their registration before you ask for your documents to be sent to PEBC. Because if PEBC receives your documents, they don't have you on file. They won't know who you are because you don't have a PEBC ID number. So that's why it's important that you log into PEBC's website and follow their instructions on registering as a PEBC candidate. That way you'll receive a PEBC ID number, fill out their application forms, and then you'll be instructed on how to submit your transcript from your university to be sent directly to PEBC. Okay, so there are two forms that need to be sent directly from the institution to PEBC. And those two forms are your transcripts. So that needs to be sent directly from your university to PEBC. If you have a master's degree or a PhD, you would also need to provide those transcripts to your university. If you have another degree in a different country, you also have to submit those degrees. As long as it's related to pharmacy, you also have to submit those transcripts directly to PEBC. Now, I meet quite a number of newcomers who immigrate to Canada with their transcripts from their university sealed in an envelope. That will not be accepted by PEBC. It has to be received directly from your university. So even if your transcript is original, sealed in an envelope by your university, it will not be accepted. The second document that needs to be sent directly from the institution is your degree certificate. So What I mean by that is, when you graduated from university and you get that parchment paper and you're so proud of it, and then you have to put it on a frame, and then you put it up on the wall for everyone to see because you're so proud of it, and you should be proud. That's what they want from you. But don't send the original or else you'll never see it again. So what you'll have to do is take it to a commissioner for oaths or a notary public or a lawyer, but lawyers are more expensive. So I do recommend a notary public or commissioner for oaths. And they will take a photocopy themselves from your original document, and then they'll put their special stamp and sign it to verify that they copied it themselves from the original document. And then you would send that certified copy to PEBC. Okay. The other thing that you'll need to do with PEBC is successfully pass the evaluating exam. So you don't actually get to write the evaluating exam until you've been instructed by PEBC that your document evaluation has been completed. Okay. So sorry, I'm going to go. I jumped a little bit too far, too quickly here. I'm going to go back to completing the document evaluation. Once PEBC has received all your documents, and what those documents are, again, are your university transcripts, your degree certificate, and I forgot to mention your licensing statement. So that means what the licensing statement is, it's basically a letter from all the countries that you lived and practiced and held a pharmacy license. Um, you need to contact the minister or university or whoever it is, because every country is different. Whoever gave you the license to practice pharmacy in that country, you need to contact that organization and request for a licensing statement. So that's basic. What that is a letter saying that you don't have any outstanding fines or have anything negative against your license in that country. And then that also gets sent to um, PEBC directly. Okay. So once they receive all those documents that they ask from you, then they'll look at every single piece of paper to make sure that the names are the same, including spelling. So if there is one letter misspelled from one of the documents, they'll let you know that it needs to be fixed. Now, I find PEBC is very, very good at helping you succeed. So they'll actually contact you and let you know what's wrong with your documents. They'll tell you exactly which document has that they have a problem with. They'll let you know what it is, and they'll let you know how you could possibly fix it. And then you would go and fix that and then resend it to them. Once they receive all the documents and everything is fine, then it takes them between 6 to 8 weeks to review, assess, and make a decision whether you can move forward into writing the document evaluation. You will be informed that your documents have been evaluated. They'll let you know whether it's been approved or not. From my experience, of course, I only hear from clients who's been approved. I don't recall anyone or meeting anyone that was not ever approved. So when you receive a letter, it'll let you know that your document evaluation has been completed and that you can move forward and register for the evaluating exam. Here's a word of caution. They will let you know in the letter when the next writing for evaluating exam is. It doesn't mean you have to write it. So if they say you may go ahead and register for the next writing, which is January 2025. But if you're not comfortable, if you're not ready to write in January, you don't have to write it in January. Okay. Um, all right. So with the evaluating exam, you will be allowed 3 attempts. You can petition for a 4th attempt, but there's a lot of work that you have to complete. It's remediation units that you'd have to complete. So um, I advise that you do a solid preparation so that you can pass within the first attempt. But technically, you are allowed 3 attempts, um, and within the 5 years of completing your document evaluation. The other thing that you'd need to complete after you've passed evaluating exam is passing both qualifying exams, and they are put into 2 parts. So part 1 is MCQ, and part 2 is OSCE, that most people just refer to as MCQ and OSCE. And then after you've passed the 2 qualifying exams, then you are a certified and registered with PEBC. Just a little bit more about the exams itself. Evaluating exam, the blueprint recently changed. So if you've already seen the blueprint, let's say last month, you should have another look because they did just made a recent announcement that there's no longer a biomedical science in the blueprint. A number of it is mostly going to be um, Canadian practice, and there's 50 less questions. So that's a good thing, less questions. The qualifying exam test, part 1, is of course multiple choice question. It's the the test is it's a knowledge base test. They will ask you questions based on their 9 competency area from the NAPRA professional competency Canadian pharmacist entry to practice. MCQ, of course, it's multiple choice questions. The Part 2 OSCE exam is objective structured clinical examination. This evaluates candidates' performance in a simulated practice environment, and it does assess you on your English communication skills are very important. Okay, so I think I'm running low on time here, so I'll kind of speed it up a bit. Um, So these are just some tips on your document evaluation. I did mention some of these already in the earlier slide, so I won't go through too much of that. Um, and this one as well, I mentioned this. So again, 3 attempts to to pass evaluating exam, and passing is minimum 60% to pass EE. Um, Again, you have 5 years to complete it from the date of your document evaluation. And please refer to PBC's website for the recent changes on their blueprint, because if you plan to write in June 2025, the blueprint will have changed by then. Okay. You have to pass evaluating exam before you can move forward to write the qualifying exams. Okay, so um, about the qualifying exams, MCQ and OSCE, you would be writing this with Canadian grads. There is no passing score like EE, so it's not a numbered score. You pass based on performance. It's based on your individual performance. Again, it's based also on the 9 professional competencies. So this is a chart that is in the PEBC website. It shows the performance trends between Canadian grads, which is what they call here as reference Canadian grads, and then versus the international first-time test takers. This is just what they're showing here is the passing rate for example, 2,632 Canadian grads, 86.5% pass on the first time they write the MCQ exam. 93% of them pass the first time they write OSCE. Whereas for IPGs, only 43.3% passed on their first time writing MCQ and 59.8 passed in their first time writing OSCE. So if you are here in this phase already, you've not passed the first time with either MCQ or OSCE, don't 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 quit. Keep going, because then the passing rate gets better in your repeat attempt. So just because you failed the first time, it doesn't mean you should quit and you're not enough. No, it just means you just need more practice and keep studying and take it again. Okay. Okay, so as I mentioned, the provincial regulatory authority has their own unique requirements. So when it comes to providing your language proficiency tests, please check with your PRA to see what their requirement is for their language scores. And keep in mind that your PRA might require you to complete a bridging program, and the number of SPT hours or your internship hours may differ from province to province. And of course, your jurisprudence exam will be different too. Okay, so I've put together a few tips for your success. Um, So I really recommend that you occasionally refer to PEBC's website because changes occur, just like the most recent change with EE with their blueprint. They've revised it, and the reason for revising it is it is now reflecting the curriculum of the Canadian Council for Accreditation of Pharmacy Programs, accredited PharmD programs. This new blueprint eliminates the biomedical science subject area, and it'll be implemented in the June 2025 sitting. The number of questions also reduced from 150 to 140. So check their latest news. They have a special button called latest news. Always check that. How would you go about to preparing the exams? Like I said, PBC wants you to do well. So they have a great list of resources. So check their list and look for study groups. In Alberta, uh, there's two study groups funded by the government of Alberta and the government of Canada, and those are Braden Center in Edmonton and Directions for Immigrants in Calgary. Tips for success. So I highly recommend, no matter which test you or exam you are writing, create a study schedule with deadlines. So read the blueprint. Evaluating exam has a syllabus. Look at the syllabus. It's quite large, 72 pages as a matter of fact. Look at the blueprint syllabus and transfer it to a calendar. Decide what you need to read. Put it in a calendar so that you have a more structured schedule of what you need to read, what you need to study. In your calendar, add your other priorities in your life, your family, work, you time. That's also important. Find study buddies. If you are in a city where there is no study group like Braden or Directions, then create your own study group, or maybe go online. I understand there's an online information on Facebook that someone has created. Maybe someone there lives in your city or town, and see if you can get together at a public library and study. When you find someone to study with, divide and conquer topics and teach each other. The best way to learn is to teach someone when you can explain it. You know you've learned it if you can explain it. The most important advice is self-care. It's the force to get you farther. It's a long journey. Many of you are just starting, so this journey is going to be long. To obtain your license, it's a long journey to obtain your license, so make sure your path provides you with time to enjoy life, family, friends, and enjoy your new home in Canada. That's how you're going to get the balance and get you farther. So the question I get asked a lot is, when should I write my exam? I can't tell you the answer. The right time to take the exam is after you've put in 100% effort to prepare for it. Don't rush through the preparation. Don't take it just to see what it's like. Prepare smartly and do your best to study. Some people only need 3 months, some need 1 year. It really depends on what else is happening in your life. It also depends on your learning style and how you manage stress. It's a juggling act. So it's different for everyone. Just make sure you're putting in 100% active effort. Just a couple of final tips I'd like to give you before I finish. Please, please tell yourself this. Your education and experience from outside Canada are valuable. I'm going to try something here. Can everyone unmute? I don't know if you have the ability to unmute or if Thomas needs to unmute everyone, but I'd like you to repeat this after me. My education and experience are valuable. Repeat. And my final and most important tip, create a positive affirmation. This will help you in many parts of life, including the exams. And I observed this working numerous times in our OSCE sessions. It's easy to be critical of ourselves, and we often hear negative messages about ourselves. None of that is helpful or supportive of our goals. I believe that how we talk to ourselves, that inside voice that only you can hear, it greatly affects how we see ourselves. And how we see ourselves affect how we perform or show up in the world. So I'm going to give you a challenge to create a personal positive affirmation. Some call this a mantra. If you do this, I hope it will help you stop doubting yourself and give you courage and confidence, whether writing your exams or showing up for that job interview. As long as you do this, as long as you do your best to prepare for that exam or that job interview, using only words of kindness to yourself will empower you. So, what does a personal positive affirmation sound like? Here's an example that I'm borrowing from Directions for Immigrants lead facilitator pharmacist, Jane Ward. And it sounds like this. You are smart. You have the skills needed to pass this exam. You are loved. So, again, I'm not sure if you can unmute. Repeat after me. I am smart. I have the skills needed to pass this exam. I am loved. Thank you for joining me in this presentation, and this next slide shows you the web links to all the sources.
Thank you so much, Rachel. So unfortunately, they wouldn't be able to unmute, but I believe they've all taken, the challenge and are having the positive affirmations. we will be sharing a lot of the resources in an email to all the participants. So if you were not able to capture those links, don't worry, we will share that with you. At this time, I would want to invite Miro to take over, and he's going to be having a conversation with Timmy. Probably they'll be able to amplify some of the things that Rachel has already mentioned, or they might be answering some questions and thoughts that you have on your mind. Over to you, Miro.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Rachel. Hi, Tammy. How's it going?
Hi, Miro. I'm fine. Hello, everyone.
On what Rachel said, hey, have you done yourself any affirmations?
Oh, the one Rachel shared was actually my affirmation during the exam period because it was shared during the directions study group. So I held on to that because there
Oh,
were challenging days, and those were the words that held me.
that's amazing. And can you please share with us how did your support network help you during the licensing process?
Okay, my support network. So those are the people that helped me achieve the goal. So the immediate people that came to mind was my spouse because it was just me, my spouse, and my two young kids. So he helped because I had two kids under 5. So
Wow,
preschool age, very demanding. So my husband helped me with the kids and gave me time to be able to study for the exams. Then I also had a friend who had previously immigrated to Canada already in the journey. So she was like a mentor to me, told me, oh, she was still writing the exams, but she showed me the ropes. She was the one that gave me the contacts to directions for immigrants. So I came into Canada late July, and the next study group was going to be August. So she was like, Timmy, you have to register on time to get into the program for August. Just do it as soon as you land. So that information was critical for me, and that really helped.
amazing. So having family support and having a
Yeah.
mentor and a positive person, that's amazing. Thank you for that. And
Yeah.
what advice, when you look back at, what everything you went through, what advice would you give yourself?
The first thing, and very important, know yourself. Know what your limits are. Know how well you retain information. Know what your study patterns are. Know the dynamics around your life. Like when I was an undergraduate studying pharmacy, I wasn't married, I didn't have kids.
Mhm.
Now I have to do this married with a kid, trying to get a job. So the first thing, know yourself, know your limits. Don't be hard on yourself. There will be very challenging days, but don't be hard on yourself. And the second thing that helped me was access to the right information. Rachel rightly said earlier, check the website. Like I was
Mhm.
always, every week I had to check NAPRA website for any changes. I checked the college website for any changes. PEBC website was like always on the start button. I was always checking that. Access to the right information helped me. And then the network I made along the way, the study
Mhm.
group, the Direction for Immigrant study group. I had friends there. And that was where I created my study buddies throughout the exam period. And some of them are still my friends today, after being licensed as a pharmacist. And then some other people you meet on the job, if you eventually do get a job as a pharmacy assistant. So those would also be some of the mentors you would need.
Amazing. Those are great insights. Thank you. And what were your initial challenges when you reflect on those?
Oh my God. It was a very challenging period, actually. First one for me was finding other people that were in the journey as I was finding people. And I was lucky to have a friend that was already in the journey who led me to directions for immigrants. And then because the study, I came in pre-COVID, just a few months before the lockdown. So we
Mhm.
had to come physically to Bow Valley to attend the classes. So I needed to find childcare. Childcare was a
Oh my
challenge for
God.
me.
Hmm.
And then because this is my first time in Canada, never been here, don't know what the pharmacy system is like, looking for a job as a pharmacy assistant, just to understand what the whole pharmacy structure entails was a challenge. And then changes in policy along the way while I was doing the practice was also a challenge. And finding funding for the bridging program I
Hmm.
eventually attended was a challenge for me.
Amazing. And plus you have family
Yeah,
to take care of.
take
Amazing.
care
And so
of.
how did you overcome all this? I mean, you're handling so many things at the same time. Oh my God, how?
Um, key is getting the right information. There are a lot of information out there. For example, while looking for information, I found this Instagram page of a lady. What she put there was mentors. You can get mentors for the pharmacy licensing program. I was like, oh, great. Maybe she'll be able to tell me what her journey is and all. And I reached out to her. She hasn't started the exam, but she already created a page to tell other people what she has not done. At that point, I had already completed the evaluating exam. So I was like, I even have more information than you do. So getting the right information is very critical. And I was glad I had directions for immigrants. And Rachel was actually my coach during that period. So I got lots of information. She was the one that shared the pamphlet for Windmill with me. So I had that information as well. And she also shared some links to, because I stayed in Alberta then. She shared some links to me for affordable childcare if I did qualify, and I called them up. I qualified, so my kids were in daycare, and she helped me with my resume, shared out resume, went cold calling, did everything. But unfortunately, I didn't get a pharmacy assistant job, so it's normal. Don't feel bad. I eventually got a job as a clerk in UPS, and I was doing that part-time while studying for the exam. And then because I was always updating myself with the college website, I was always updating myself with PBC website. So when there was a change in policy in Alberta, because Alberta didn't used to have a bridging program, and I intentionally moved from Nigeria to Alberta because there was no bridging program. So coming in,
Oh my
and then
God.
they changed the
Oh
policy,
my
and they
God.
were not sure when it was going to start. So at that point, I was like, what am I going to do? So the key thing is pick up yourself. I quickly thought outside the box. My husband just got a job at that period, a very good job. And how would we navigate telling them we have to move to another province because my wife has to go do a bridging program somewhere else, because it was a difficult period, but I thought outside the box. Two provinces that were already doing the bridging program then was BC and Ontario. Ontario was a very long one. I didn't want to do something too long. And BC was closer to Alberta, shorter period. So I picked BC. And then when it came to access to funds, my credit score wasn't so good then for any big bank to give me the money. And I remember the pamphlets Rachel gave me for Windmill. So I contacted Windmill, and everything. I got the funds within, it was less than 2 weeks. It was very fast and easy.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I think, Lydia, do you want to talk about, and Thomas, about Windmill? Because, this is all financially intensive. I mean, it's not cheap.
Yes.
And thank you again for the chat and conversation.
You're
You're our
welcome.
great success story. We're so proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel, Miro, and Tammy. And yes, I know like we don't have a lot of time, but don't worry. We will stay a little bit longer because we would like to answer your questions as well. But Tammy, I just have a final question for you because I assume that you came to Canada in 2018, right?
Yeah, 2019.
So then how much time did it take you to be happy in your career as an immigrant to Canada? Or you're
I
still
eventually
on
got
the
my,
way?
okay, I started the examination. I did my document evaluation before coming to Canada. So I registered for the first EE January 2020, and I passed that one. And then that was when lockdown started. PBC didn't know how they were going to do the exams. But I had enough funds to pay for both the MCQ and the OSCE. And I did my first MCQ because that was a very challenging period. I failed my first MCQ. So I called PEBC because they want you to succeed, honestly. Just reach out to them. I sent a message to PEBC that I wasn't going to take my OSCE that year anymore, that I was going to cancel it and defer it to the next year. So during that period, I strategized. That was when I thought about going for a bridging program because I needed to understand what I need to succeed to pass these exams once. So I deferred that exam, got the Windmill loan, and paid for UBC's bridging program. And I took both MCQ and OSCE in May 2021, and I passed both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So roughly
and
about
then,
a year and a half.
yeah. And when did you get your job, the current job you're in now?
I got my job almost immediately after license. It was very fast.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And then thank you so much for sharing your story, Akno, because it shows how even Rachel was saying, right? If you failed your exam, don't give up and try to find like any other way to pass that exam. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. But please like, stay Akno with us, Akno, because I'm pretty
Sure.
sure some of the people like, might have some questions for you as well.
Okay.
So I'll share my screen and I'll try to be very fast, Akno, because I do want Akno people to hear their answers to their questions. So bear with me just 1 second. So as you can tell, I'm an immigrant myself. So Thomas, please let me know if everybody can see my screen.
Yeah, you can see your
Awesome,
screen.
great. So yes, I'm an immigrant myself. So, and when I was listening to Rachel, I was like, oh my God, this is so hard. Thank God that I don't need to pass any exams anymore. But I wish you best of luck to everybody. So we are here to help on the financial side. So we are Windmill Microlending. And what do? We provide affordable loans up to 15,000 exclusively to skilled immigrants and refugees. So when Rachel was mentioning that the process like costs money and you can see it on her slides, so that's where we can help. And at first, like you might think that we are a bank or a financial institution. And I always tell that no, we are not. Windmill is the government funded charity, which actually has been around for more than 19 years. And here you can see that we are funded by the government of Canada, Ontario, Alberta, and Quebec. And in 2005, we started in Calgary with only 5 loans to help internationally trained professionals. But then, since then, we have helped 11,000 people, and today we are a national organization. So, like you're joining from different places in Canada. So, you can still apply for our program and you might be eligible even if you are not based in Alberta. So myself, I'm based in Alberta, same for Mira and Rachel, but again, like Windmill is a national organization, so please feel free to reach out. So what makes us unique and how we are different from any bank or financial institution? Since Tammy was mentioning that her credit score was not the highest one, but sometimes like some of my no, our clients, they even don't have Canadian credit history because they just came to Canada. And I've seen on the poll questions that some of you just came to Canada. So if you have your plan already, if you know what you want to do in the process to return to your profession, then like you can come to us because we don't require people to have Canadian credit history. But understand me right, if you have it, we are gonna check it. But if you're brand new to Canada, then still you might be eligible for our loan. Same idea here. We don't ask you to have a stable income or to have a stable job, as Tammy was mentioning. So she was preparing for her exams. Her husband was helping her with the kids, and basically, like for her, like she worked for a UPS, right? So like her job was not very stable, and it was not even in her profession. Also, we don't require you to have any assets to secure a loan or have a consignor on your application, because we understand that you are in Canada, you're trying to survive, you're trying to return to your profession, so you can live off your savings, or maybe even you're getting your EI. So still you might be eligible for our loan. So like there are 4 ways like how you can use our loan. So first of all, like you can use it for foreign credential recognition. So, and this applies directly to you, because if you go through the process or to return to your profession, so then you need to pass exams, you need to go through certification. So it's where we can help. So the second thing here, it's a career change. So career change applies to everybody who wants to change their career. And for some of you, as Rachel mentioned in the beginning, like there are a lot of actually ways where you can use your skills. So, and that's fine if you decide not to pursue these hardest exams, and maybe like you decide like, to transitions into a post-secondary setting, right? So then again, like, we can help you with that if you need to apply for a specific program, which will help you with that. And of course, like we use our loans, like you can use our loans for relocation, for employment. I will explain it a little bit more. So like, let's say how it happened with Tammy in some way. So she was in Alberta, but then she got a job in BC, and she also finished her bridging program there. But let's say if she wouldn't have taken the program, but just she got a job offer from BC, then she would have needed to relocate. So like same idea here. So if you wanna to relocate to another province because you got a job offer there, so we can help you with the moving cost and any other expenses which might appear on the way. And of course, we can cover some professional development as well, or upskilling. So let's say if you are already happy with your career, but then you feel you need some designation, or you need maybe to upgrade some skills, so we can help you with that. And here you can see the list of our eligible expenses. So basically for you to keep in mind, we can cover every expense which is related to your education. Especially I'd like to talk here about living allowances. As Temi mentioned, so sometimes like there are obstacles, and those obstacles might be your great kids, but sometimes it's very hard to study when you have kids at home. And think if you have your husband or your partner who helps you with the kids, but what if they have to work as well? So then you might need to hire a nanny, or maybe you need to put your kids into a daycare. And then again, if you have expenses, you cannot cover them, but you tell to us, hey, I'm preparing for this hardest exam and I need to pay for my daycare, so we can help you with that. Like same idea here. If you have a full-time job, like let's say you work as an Uber driver just to survive in Canada, but then again you need to prepare for your difficult exams, we might cover your rent or groceries if you need to quit your job or reduce the amount of hours you work for your employer. And now, of course, the most important part, and I'll try not to go fast through it, but again, I'm here, Thomas is here, and we will share some emails with you, so you can reach out to us and ask us for more questions. So first of all, as I said, the maximum amount of 15,000 for our program. But again, like you can take less money. You don't have to take the maximum amount of 15,000. Like you can take 2,000, 5,000 just to start, and then you will see if you actually need more money. So we have a fixed interest rate 6.7, which is a little bit higher than the prime rate of Canada, but at the same time it's a fixed rate. It means you have a peace of mind, so you know exactly how much money you're gonna be paying every month. Also, if you wanna pay us early because you find a great job or you win a lottery, we have no strings attached, so we don't charge you any penalties or administrative fees at any time. And also, like you have a flexible repayment term within like 5 years. And of course, we would like to provide you with a grace period. So grace period means that while you're at school and or preparing for your exams, and that time when you're transitioning, you're looking for a job, you might opt out to be on a grace period, meaning that you will pay us just the interest only. And then additional and then after you're done with your search for your work, we will ask you to pay the principal plus the interest back. And on the right side here, you can see an approximate scenario. You can see, so let's say if you take 10,000 and the interest rate is 6.7 for 3-year term, and let's say your period of study is 12 months. So it means that you're preparing for your exam, like you're passing your exam and everything. Plus, then on top, we add 3 months for you to find a job. So then during that first 15 months, you will be on a grace period. So your payments every month will be $55 and a little bit more. But then when you are successful and you found your job, then you will start paying the principal plus the interest back, and then it's going to be a little bit over than 300 a month. And I understand even 300 at first, like it doesn't seem a lot, but for many people, it can be a lot. But that's why I always tell that we are more just alone. So we have a lot of support for our clients. For example, for those who don't have Canadian credit history, or let's say their credit score is not the greatest one, we want them to meet with the client success coach. So that person will help you on the way, like you will have a meeting on Zoom, and then like you can ask that person questions like, hey, I need some help with my resume, and I need some help with my LinkedIn skills. And that person will refer you to our website where you will find career planning resources, financial literacy training. And then, like, if you still have some questions, we partner with a lot of wonderful organizations like Directions for Immigrants. And lastly, we have a mentorship program available to our clients. So like Tammy was mentioning, so she was looking for a mentor, for a legit one, but not who just started preparing for the exam. So we will match you with the mentor, like the pharmacist who works already and have experience in passing exams and things like that. And just to show you that our client technical success speaks for itself. So if you Google us, like, you will see that we have tons of reviews from people with 5 solid star. Also, we have average repayment rate around like 95%. So it shows you that our clients are successful. They have paid us back, or they have been paying us back. And we have this data that they increase their income more than 3 times, of course, when they return to their profession, when they can apply for a new profession, as well as they can make more money. And of course, like they're happy to recommend us to their friends and family. And our net promoter score, because of that, is 95%. So, but just to show you and speak quick about our eligibility criteria, how you can apply. So we ask you to have a permanent status in Canada. So you need to be a permanent resident, provincial nominee, Canadian citizen, or conviction refugee or protected person. By Canadian citizen, I mean those who are like me. I'm a Canadian citizen, but I'm an immigrant. If you are now on a work permit or study permit, right now you won't be eligible, but as soon as you are approved by Alberta provincial nominee or BC or any province tells that they want to keep you, you become eligible for our program. And of course, we ask you to be internationally trained, but I know you are already. So if you are not internationally trained, then we will ask you to have a 1 year of work experience on your resume. And basically, that's it. Here you can see how you can apply for our loan. But again, Thomas will share some links with you, and you will receive a follow-up email with all of the resources Rachel has provided. And also, we will share our information, and we will share a lot of links which might help you on the way to return to your profession. And now I'm going to stop sharing it on my screen because I'd love to see how many questions we have received, and we will try to do our best to answer them all. So I'll stop sharing my screen.
Thank you very much, Lydia. And thanks to Rachel, Miro, and Tammy as well for the wonderful presentation and conversation. We do have a number of questions that have come in, and I'll try to group them together. So one of the questions, or some of the questions, are around the English language requirements, right? So the one question is, do provinces consider the completion of a Canadian graduate degree as evidence of English language proficiency? I think Rachel might want to answer that, please.
I would suggest to check with the college in your province, because every province will be different in their requirement. From my understanding, NAPRA is suggesting that all the provinces ask for a language proficiency from all their registrants. So specifically for people educated outside Canada, even if you are coming from an English-speaking country. For example, Tammy, I know she studied in English, right, Tammy?
Yes, I did.
She still had to provide the IELTS or language proficiency. But please check with the provincial regulatory authority in the province you live in, because it will be different for everyone.
Thank you. And you actually already answered one of the other questions about if someone is coming from an English-speaking country. So I can mark that as answered. Another question regarding the IELTS is it required before the E exam? Or is it academic IELTS required for language proficiency? I think there's just some clarification needed on that.
Do you want to answer that, Tammy?
Sure. So I believe the person is asking if IELTS is needed for the PR process. Yes, you need the IELTS, the general IELTS for the PR process. And then the second one, you need the academic IELTS. It doesn't have to be before the evaluating exam. Usually you need it just before you do the college requirements, which is the jurisprudence. And most bridging programs also require that you have the IELTS or any other language proficiency test done. So for myself, I did the University of British Columbia bridging program, and it was a requirement for registration. So it depends. You can do it if you don't want it, if you're not doing a bridging program or the province you're in doesn't require a bridging program, you might just need to do it for the jurisprudence, which is the college requirement for the province.
Thank you very much. Now, speaking about bridging programs, there's a question here asking if the bridging programs are mandatory, and another question asking if it's better to go for a bridging program first or the qualifying exam.
Okay, I guess that question is for me. Like I
Yes.
said earlier, know yourself. I told you I did my first MCQ, I didn't pass. And at that point, I realized I had a knowledge gap that I couldn't bridge because I couldn't get a pharmacy assistant job, and a knowledge gap that I think a bridging program would help me with. So I did the bridging program first. It was very helpful. I understood what the Canadian graduates knew that I didn't know. It also provided an opportunity for me to have a structured practical experience, which was like an internship for 3 months under a pharmacist in the province. So I knew exactly, through that, I was able to have the Canadian experience as a pharmacist. And it helped me tremendously to pass my MCQ and the OSCE exam. So it depends on you. Know yourself. If you know you don't need it, it's up to you. But I knew I needed it, and it really helped me to bridge that gap, the knowledge gap that I didn't have.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Amy. While I have you, because it seems a lot of the questions are directed towards you. Someone is asking how much it costs to become a pharmacist. I think that's a very direct question.
Okay, that is a very subjective question because it also depends on you. For someone like me, uh, if you're able to pass all the exams at once, like you did the evaluating exam, you know the cost. You did the MCQ, once you passed, you know the cost. You did the OSCE, which is the most expensive one, and you passed once. Then you also have to factor in the cost of the English language exam. You also have to factor the cost of other things you may need, like if you need a notary to sign off some of your documents, then you also have to factor in the cost of it's actually very capital intensive. But like I said earlier, have a plan, have a budget, and work with your plan, work with your budget, and you have I'm glad I had access to Windmill's loan because it really helped me. I didn't have all the funds I needed for that, but I knew I had a plan from where I was coming from. Like, I want to be a pharmacist in Canada, and there are the government provided a lot of things that would help me succeed. So I used all the available resources to me, and it helped me. So yes, it's best you have a budget, and put some extra funds in the miscellaneous box because you would need it. So it's capital intensive. It can be you can spend between 5,000 to 25,000. It all depends on you. So that's the
And I'd like to ask a follow-up question about Rachel, because Rachel, she has been working with pharmacists for 15 years. So on average, do you know like how much money do usually people spend?
Well, again, it depends on the province they live in. So all those costs that Temi mentioned, the registration itself. So the very first step, which is to register with NAPRA, there is a cost, and I can't remember offhand right now what that cost is, between maybe $300 25, I think the last time I checked. I can't remember.
So it's
So they're all listed there. It's very transparent. In fact, if they go to their website of their provincial college, it'll show what the cost is for the registration fees. PEBC has a great extensive list of fees for pharmacists and pharmacy technician. So just be careful what you're reading, that it's for pharmacists, not technicians. In fact, I'll try to share that direct link to show people where the fees listed
awesome.
are in
Yes, no, thank
PBC.
you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, so it depends on the province, and then
Yeah.
add on the cost from PEBC's perspective. And every year, just like with everything, the cost is increasing,
Yeah.
right? So
And just to add, to that, because I just recalled that some of the people, they have registered for their exams already. So like if you put it on your credit card with the interest rate, which is more than 20%, you still can come to us. So like we have 6 months. So like if during those like 6 months you paid for your exams, if you can come to us and resubmit your application, and then like we can you can take on a loan with us with 6.7, and you can cover your credit card. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Another question that has come up, I think we have about 3 or 4 people asking this question. I noticed Tammy also mentioned it was a challenge for her. The question is how to get a pharmacy assistant job. What tips do we have for people who are asking?
that's a whole several different appointments here with me or Miro. That's a loaded question. First of all, make sure that your resume is tailored for a pharmacy assistant. Make sure that you understand what the role and skills are required of a pharmacy assistant, because you will have those transferable skills that you've had from back home, whether you were a pharmacist or a pharmaceutical sales rep. You're going to, you do have transferable skills. You may not recognize them, but find a career coach and talk about your resume to understand what your transferable skills. But I know you will have that. And then highlight those transferable skills so that it is targeted, tailored for a pharmacy assistant position. That's my quick advice. Otherwise, we'll be on here forever. If you can find a provincial or federal service for newcomers, if you can make an appointment and sit down with a career coach to help you with job search.
Okay, thank you very much. Miro, do you have anything to add? Okay.
I would just say, come see us. This is a big question, and come see us, and we're more than happy to help you.
Thank you. I think Tammy wanted to say something.
Just one tip. Try independent pharmacies. They may be more willing and receptive to international pharmacy grad than the corporate retail pharmacies. Like you can try with them as well, like Walmart, Safeway, but try independent pharmacies.
Thank you so much. So I'll come back to you, Rachel. So someone is asking, as a qualified pharmacist in the USA, are there any exams that they will be exempt from? You're muted.
Sorry, I'm not used to muting. Yes, there is specific instructions for US grads, so make sure you're reading up-to-date information from PEBC's website. There's specific information there for US grads.
Okay, fantastic. So we have a few questions here. One in particular, I think is quite interesting because they're asking what are the other options, after the evaluation exam, if I don't want to go for qualifying exam? So I guess what are the other pathways?
I can answer that. And this is for some people who try to do the certification as a pharmacist with PEBC. Sometimes, someone can't or cannot pass evaluating exam, no matter how much they try. And so they've used up their 4th attempt. And so that's it, no more. The other option is to apply for the pharmacy technician program, or sorry, pharmacy technician certification through PEBC. They are running a pilot right now for pharmacy techs, but as of the last time I read the information, which was 2 weeks ago, if you want, as an internationally educated pharmacist, if you wrote evaluating exam and failed it once and you don't want to keep pursuing that path, you can request PBC to consider you for the pharmacy technician path. And then that's where you would write their OSPE, sort of like their equivalent to the qualifying exam for technicians.
Thank you so much. So there's another question. This is quite unique. They're asking if there are any programs for any of the provinces that would help someone who is outside Canada immigrates into Canada if they've passed some of the exams.
I'm not sure if I understood that. So this is someone who is not in Canada yet?
Yeah, so let me read it verbatim, right? So I have passed the PEBC MCQ exam, currently outside Canada, but I want to move to Saskatchewan. So can I get like a PMP nomination? Is there any of such programs?
Oh, I would suggest
Check
checking with
with the government, with
government. Yeah.
Saskatchewan provincial nominee, because how I know that I immigrated through Alberta provincial nominee, but I was already in Canada. But sometimes, like a lot of immigrants, they're scared and they think, oh, it's so complicated and I need a lawyer. Technically, you don't need a lawyer. Like you go to the government website, it explains everything, which streams are available at NU right now and how you can go through the streams as well. Thomas and myself, I would be happy to provide you with a wonderful organization like Directions for Immigrants or Braden. But unfortunately, these two organizations, they work in Alberta. So they work with those who are in Alberta. But maybe if you Google, like so far, we don't work with similar organizations in Saskatchewan, but maybe you can email to us and we can try to find it for you as well. But you can try on Google. But for sure, like start with your province, that one you want to immigrate to, and see what basically options and streams they have open right now.
Thank you so much. One other question we have here, someone is asking if they can start the process outside Canada and then move just in time for the exam, or do they have to be here for the entire process?
Emmy can relate to that, I believe.
Yeah, you can start the process before you move to Canada, like your document evaluation. You can start that before you move to Canada and then continue the process when you get to Canada. So it's possible to start before you move to Canada.
And I even know some people like not just for pharmacists, but for physicians. So they come to Canada, they register for their exams, they apply for many of the programs, but then because the cost of living is high in Canada, they feel like they have more support at home, who will take parents who will take care of the kids and everything. So they go home and they prepare home for that exam. And for some of the people it works, but for some of the people it's the opposite. It doesn't work. Like Tammy was mentioning, like when you go through a bridging program, when you work at the pharmacy as an assistant, then you can kind of go like you can see the process, your vocabulary improves, and a lot of things are happening which might not happen in your home country. So just as everybody tells us today, you need to know yourself. And again, like please connect with us on LinkedIn. So you can find myself on LinkedIn, you can find Thomas as well, Miro and Rachel and Tammy, I think soon, if not now. Like, so then we can inspire you and help you. A lot of us, we post a lot of resources on LinkedIn for immigrants, how to succeed in your career and everything. So, but yes, just please look for resources and know yourself and see what is available to you.
Thank you so much. We've had a number of people ask if the webinar will be available. And yes, we did promise that after the webinar, probably by tomorrow, you would receive an email with all the resources that we've talked about. You would have the links. We would also share a link to the webinar recording so you can watch in more detail and get answers to all the questions that you have. We'll also be sharing our contact information to make sure that you can stay in touch and connect with us and get answers to some of your questions. We'll be rounding up in just a couple of minutes, but I'll just take a few more questions. So one of the questions here is that, is the SPT component of the BC Bridging Program paid? So I think that'll be for Tammy.
No, it's not. It's an unpaid, it's an unpaid SPT.
Okay, so it's free.
But again, I would add, but look at that in that way that yes, you won't receive actual money, but you will
gain
get a lot of experience. Plus, through that program or like that course, right? Like you might meet people who will help you in your career in Canada later on. I know who sometimes like when people think, oh, I have to do networking, like they think that they have to go and be like, hey, I'm looking for a job. But in reality, you just go through your life, you meet friends, you meet some new people, and then you never know who might help you in the future. So that's how actually like networking works, and all of these bridging programs and any education in Canada. So it helps you to meet people, and then again, like everything that happens for a reason, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Can I just, sorry, Thomas,
Yeah,
can I
ahead,
just
please.
add something about the bridging program? Because I have spoken to a number of our clients who have gone through the bridging program, whether, in our province or another province, and then they come back to us. They have expressed how their confidence has increased in the workplace. So my question to people here is, when you have finished obtaining your license and registered to practice as a pharmacist, how do you want to feel in the workplace amongst other pharmacists, amongst other professionals? How do you want to feel at the end of the day? The bridging program will provide that confidence and empower you to feel good that you are an equal professional to your colleagues. So bridging program, as much as it is very costly and you might think it's taking a lot of your time, consider how you're going to come out at the end of all this when you're working. Okay?
Yeah, 100%. And Rachel, these are the great words. Even myself, so when I came to Canada, I was an international student. So 2 years I spent in Bow Valley College. So like those years changed my life. Like, and I'm not joking, because originally I'm from Russia. So when I came to Canada, and I was like, oh my God, every day the small talk. I don't know how I'm going to do a small talk. And still after 10 years of being in Canada, I feel uncomfortable. Like when at the grocery store, a Safeway employee asked me, like, what are your plans for tonight? Like, what are you going to cook? And I'm like, it's very hard. So even these small like steps, like, but again, as Rachel said, after that bridging program, it will help you. Again, you won't be a pro, and it will take you like probably a couple of years, but still it will give you that confidence, and it's very important.
Confidence and being competent.
Yes.
And also, I just want to add to both of you, there's that cultural dimension that people often forget about. That, yeah, you might live in another country and you might be preparing there, but you're missing out on the cultural dimension, which actually, if you're not aligned, you may have experience issues as, you're sending resumes, there's no reply. Well, it might be a cultural dimension that's not being covered. So
fantastic. Thank you very much. I'll say we're out of time, and we will try to maybe answer some of the questions in our follow-up email. But remember, this is hopefully the start of a wonderful, successful relationship. So we will share all our contact information. So we want you to please connect, register with Directions for Immigrants. Like Timmy mentioned, Rachel was a fantastic coach. And you've heard all the information that has been shared today, so they will be more than happy to help. I'll just want us to go round one by one for one final thought, and then we can close the webinar. And I'll also let you know that you should be receiving a link to a survey. We please want you to fill the surveys just so that we can improve on how we deliver these webinars in future. So I'll start with Rachel, Miro, Tammy, Lydia, and then we can end it.
Just final thoughts. You know, if you really want to work as a pharmacist, just keep trying and be realistic. This is, I really agree with what Temi has been saying. Know yourself, but be realistic as well, and just keep pushing if that's what you want. Thank you.
Mira.
You can do it. Reach out. We're here to help you. Ask for help. It's okay to ask for help.
Thank you. Temi.
Just remember, you're not starting from scratch. You're starting with experience, so you can do it.
Fantastic. And Lydia.
Well, like the first of all, I want to say big thank you to all of the attendees, and I want to thank a big thank you to Mira, Rachel, and Tammy, because for us, like myself and Thomas, we are not experts in the pathway for you guys, but like they're the experts, and I'm so grateful that they spend this time with us today. And also just to wrap it up, I want to say, so I am a big advocate for a positive mindset for every immigrant in Canada and outside of Canada, those who want to come. And as Rachel mentioned, like always remember that your credentials are recognized in Canada and they're needed here. Please don't listen to those. And you will find a lot of people who will tell you, your diploma, your degree, nobody needs it here. But like they are not those examples you have to listen to. You have to listen to people like Tammy. And Tammy is the live evidence that actually, because of maybe Rachel and Directions for Immigrants and Windmill, like she's successful now and living in the most beautiful province in Canada, right? So, and I always tell, like, if you hear that, oh, immigrants are leaving Canada, but look at us, we are staying. So Tammy is successful. Like I'm successful. Same with Mira and Thomas, right? So like I know that Rachel was born here. So no, you were not born here. So see,
I was not born here. I grew up here.
like because your English is like I don't catch any accent, right? So sorry. So yes, we are all successful here. So then why you cannot be, right? So listen to our stories again. Please connect with us on LinkedIn. And like again, like I know that Mira is doing a lot for immigrants. I'm starting my podcast and YouTube channel soon. So like, and Thomas has his real story, and Rachel is a great coach, and Tammy is. I asked you before, are you okay that people like will be messaging you? And she said, yes, I'm fine with that. So, but I guess like she didn't know what she signed up for. But again, like she will try to do her best. But remember, she has 2 kids, right? So like she has 2 jobs, 2 jobs, but not just one. But yes, we wish you a lot of success. And again, Thomas will be sending you a follow-up email. If you have some questions, please don't hesitate, reach out to us. And again, this webinar will be recorded, and probably in 3 or 4 months it will be available on demand to some new people as well. So please stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Thanks, everyone. Thank you to everybody who joined. We wish you all the success. Remember, we're here to help. Like we promised, all the resources will be shared with you by tomorrow. And hopefully we can keep the conversation going. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay.